Coming to you from behind the craziest socialist lines of the Pacific Northwest, local and national news, talk, and opinions, this is the Behind the Line podcast.
Okay, let's talk about COVID, because we're not hearing enough about that, right? Well, there is some good news about the COVID BS this morning. Biden's COVID-19 vaccine mandate for healthcare workers has been blocked in 10 states. A federal judge on Monday blocked President Biden's administration from enforcing a coronavirus vaccine mandate on thousands of healthcare workers in 10 states that had brought the first legal challenge against the requirement. The court order said that the Federal Centers for Medicare and Medicaid had no clear authority from Congress to enact the vaccine mandate for providers participating in the two government health care programs for the elderly, disabled, and poor. Preliminary injunction by St. Louis-based U.S. District Judge Matthew Schlepp applies to a coalition of suing states that includes Alaska, Arkansas, Iowa, Kansas, Missouri, Nebraska, New Hampshire, North Dakota, South Dakota, and Wyoming. Similar lawsuits are also pending in other states. The federal rule requires COVID-19 vaccinations for more than 17 million workers nationwide in about 76,000 healthcare facilities and home health care providers that get funding from the government health programs. Most of those home health care providers, or a lot of them, are family members. Why does the government have a right, if you're working in your own home with your own family, to tell you to get vaccinated? Why do they have a right to tell you to get vaccinated at all? I would argue that they do not. Workers are supposed to receive their first dose by December 6th and their second shot by January 4th. The court order against the healthcare vaccine mandate comes after Biden's administration suffered a similar setback for a broader policy. Federal court previously placed a hold on a separate rule requiring businesses with more than 100 employees to ensure their workers get vaccinated or else wear masks and get tested weekly for the coronavirus. Biden's administration contends federal rules supersede state policies. That is not constitutional. Prohibiting vaccine mandates and are essential to slowing the pandemic, which it's not doing at all. If you look in these areas where there's high vaccination, you're still getting a lot of transmissibility because the vaccine does not stop you from catching and spreading COVID. The judge in the healthcare provider case wrote the federal officials likely overstepped their legal powers. No kidding. Okay, so these lawsuits against the government are obviously moving slowly and it's going to take time, but I think in the end they're going to be shot down because they're just not constitutional. And I think most places in the U.S. are going to find that to be the case. Unfortunately, in the Pacific Northwest, I don't think we're going to be so lucky. We've had numerous challenges to Governor Inslee's mandates, and unfortunately, our liberal judges like to side with the governor, so I'm not sure what the answer will be there, but it's getting out of hand. And now you've got this new variant, and everybody's jumping on the let's get scared all over again bandwagon and start implementing a bunch of rules and this and that. They don't even know anything about this new variant. And the thing about the COVID is there's going to be new variants all the time. It's going to be like the flu. It's going to mutate. There's going to be variants. It's not going away. The vaccine does not kill the virus. So this thing is not ever going away. We're going to live with this forever. So either we get used to it and stop overreacting every time something new comes out, or we're just going to be in a perpetual state of emergency, lockdowns, mandates, restrictions. It's ridiculous. That's not a way to live your life. That is not freedom in any way, shape, or form. So this new variant, Omicron, discovered in South Africa, The US and UK and several other Western nations were very quick to jump on the let's shut everything down bandwagon, starting with travel bans to South Africa. The UK did this, it's still the Thanksgiving holiday, or it's still a holiday season. You've got a lot of people from the UK who traveled to South Africa. Of course, it instantly causes chaos at the airports in South Africa because these people are trying to get home before their country puts who knows what kind of rules and stipulations on coming home. Biden has done obviously similar ban to South Africa, but the variant has already been discovered in Canada, for instance, along with some other Western nations. But did Biden shut down traffic to travel to Canada or the border of the United States and Canada? No. Has he shut down travel to these European countries where it's been discovered? Or Hong Kong where it's also been discovered? No, he did not. Why not? I mean, if we're shutting it down to South Africa, why aren't we shutting it down where it's been found everywhere else? This is just the continuation of a bunch of things that make no sense whatsoever. Now you've got breaking news right now where Jerome Powell is going to tell the Senate that the Omicron variant poses a downside risk to the economy and it's complicating the inflation picture. So they're using every bit of this COVID stuff every time something comes up to try to make excuses for why our economy is tanking. Well, it's tanking because you're pumping trillions of dollars into the economy for one thing, and you are limiting economic actions in this country with all these mandates and restrictions. They're about to put mandates on truckers who cross the Mexican-US border. They're going to be required to be vaccinated. Why? That makes no sense. Truckers work in a truck by themselves. They have very limited contact with the public or other people. There's absolutely no reason to force those people to get vaccinated. And I guarantee you a lot of truckers are going to quit if they have to do that. We already have this BS supply chain stuff going on. That's only going to add to that problem. That's only going to continue to make prices go up. This administration just keeps purposely making choices to raise prices on everything to make it very difficult for Americans. As soon as this thing came out last week, the stock market tanked on Friday. I think it lost between 800 and 1,000 points. The biggest drop in a while, quite some time. It supposedly rebounded a little bit today, but only got back a few hundred points. Why do we jump to fear and it's the end of the world every time this stuff comes up? It's interesting to me because the doctor who discovered the variant says this is all hype and it's been created by the media and it's unwarranted. She said that in one of the biggest hospitals in her area where this variant was found, there's only one patient who is COVID positive on ventilation, and there's been no confirmation as of Sunday that Omicron is the cause. She said that it's created by the media, the hype about this thing, and worldwide doesn't correlate with the clinical picture. This is coming from all the people that claim that science matters. They listen to the science and they follow the data. So why aren't they listening to this doctor who discovered the thing? Biden went on TV today and is encouraging people to be wearing your mask when you're indoors in public settings around other people, if you're in an area where that's not already required. He said that this is not a cause for panic and that he was not considering any widespread U.S. lockdown. to me, that's concerning, because Biden also said there would be no reason for vaccine mandates, less than a year ago. And yet here we are with all these vaccine mandates. As far as the mask thing goes, I listened to a King County here in Seattle news conference this morning with the Hospital Association, the Washington State Hospital Association, and the doctor from, the King County Health officer said there is no need for cloth masks anymore, that people need to start using the N95s or KN95 masks, and that there's plenty of them out there, and that the cloth masks are useless, basically, which is something we've known all along. They don't stop the virus, but now they're finally, at least on the county level, admitting that. They also opened the press conference with saying we're in a state of worry, and then continued on to say that in King County, hospitalizations are down by 14%, this is in the state of Washington, down by 14% for the last week and 31% since last month. And right now we're sitting at 10 to 15 hospitalized COVID deaths per day. That doesn't sound like a state of worry to me. It sounds like things are getting better. Dr. Cohen, the UW medicine director, says we will continue to see new variants every few months, and that we have enough information on this new variant or know the severity of transmissibility to be alarmed. At least that guy speaks with a little bit of sense. Everybody else wants you to be afraid. And by the way, this mask thing, Biden was photographed shopping in Nantucket over the weekend in an area where masks are required, in a store where masks were required, and he was not wearing a mask, and other people in the store were. And so this is just another leader, quote unquote, telling us to do something, but they won't do it themselves. And you've got Dr. Fauci saying Omicron is going to spread widely, so we need to get our booster shots. I mean, America is just driven by fear, day in and day out on this stuff. You've got the American vaccine companies already saying that they could have another vaccine for Omicron within 100 days. We don't need another shot. This is just going to be a whole new round of shots. You've got to get this shot, this vaccine, that vaccine. Where does it end? And people have gone along with this, so it's just not going to end. It's just going to keep coming. More shots. You've got to do this. If you want to work, you've got to do this. If you want to go here or there, you've got to have this. The World Health Organization also jumping on the fear bandwagon, saying that this variant poses a high risk of infection surges around the globe. They don't know that yet. They just discovered this thing. They cannot possibly have that information. The variant could lead to severe consequences in some regions. That's pretty vague. But, of course, everybody's jumping on this. And, Japan has also closed its borders to new foreign visitors. And Australia, who was going to ease its border restrictions, has now rescinded that order. So the point is, you've got some doctors saying that this thing is super dangerous, and you've got other doctors saying that we shouldn't worry too much about it right now. Who do you believe? Who's telling the truth? The truth is somewhere in the middle, and I'm not denying that COVID is dangerous for some people if you've got underlying health conditions or whatever else, but I've had COVID, I got over it in 10 days, and I was climbing a mountain 2 weeks later. So take that for what it's worth. People in other countries are protesting this stuff by the tens of thousands. I did a report on this the other day, and you can find it on our podcast, but the US, we've been mostly quiet and gone along with this, and I don't understand why. You are seeing the damage that it's doing to not only our freedoms, but our economy, our schools, our kids. When are we going to stand up and say enough is enough of this? COVID is not going away, and the vaccines are not going to eradicate it. They don't kill the virus. They don't even stop you from getting it and spreading it. We are going to have to learn to live with this. We need to move on. Everything needs to be open. All these states with emergency orders, they need to be done with and go back to normal. These governors that are running states like kings, such as Governor Inslee here in Washington, we need to go back to a normal form of government where our representatives have some sort of say and speak for the people that elected them, and not just having these governors issuing orders to the people like they're some sort of tyrant, which is what's going on here and in the West Coast and many other big blue cities throughout the United States. If we don't do something about this, they're going to pull this little routine every couple months when a new variant shows up. This isn't anything abnormal, it's normal. So we need to speak up. Anyway, that's my rant for the day. Folks, I hope you have a great day. Don't live in fear. Enjoy your family. Enjoy this time of year. Live the way you want to live. This is America. Hey guys, thanks for listening to the Behind the Line podcast at behindthelinepodcast.com. If you liked this, I hope you will like, share, and subscribe to our channel. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Facebook at Behind the Line WA. You can find us on Twitter at Behind WA. You can also find us on Telegram and LinkedIn at Behind the Line. And I'm on Rumble. Thanks again for listening, and I appreciate your support.